RC Nitro Nerds. This is John and Andrew, and you're watching the very first ever edition of Nitro RC for Dummies. And today what we're doing is we're going to take a look and review the OFNA Hyper 7, and this is actually the black edition. So when you go out and you look for an OFNA Hyper 7, I assume most of you watching this either have an OFNA Hyper 7 or are looking to get one. The one that we have that we're going to show you today is the actual the black edition, and I bought this car for $279 plus tax, free shipping on amainhobbies.com. So I think it's a really good deal. Now the first thing that many of you are probably wondering are, why would you ever consider getting an OFNA Hyper 7? There were a lot of different cars that I looked at, buggies and on-road cars and truggies and whatnot, but I decided on the OFNA Hyper 7 for a lot of different reasons. Probably the biggest reasons, though, there were a lot of folks on rcuniverse.com. When I put out the question, I think I had it between this and maybe, I don't remember if it was a Rustler or a Revo. It was a Traxxas model.
It was a Rustler.
It was a Rustler. And everybody, it was an overwhelming choice, said get the Hyper 7. And they could not have been more right with their choice, because we have been ecstatic with this. The reason you want to get this is if you want to go out and bash, this is the buggy for you. What does bashing mean? So we probably have some folks in here that might be new to the hobby. Bashing means simply taking the vehicle out and having fun with it. That includes going off-road, onto grass, onto dirt, jumping off of ramps, etc. So if you're looking for, a buggy that you just want to take out and simply have a good time with, that's quality, this is definitely the buggy for you. Now, one of the first things that people ask that are new to the hobby, I know it was one of the first things that I ever asked was, is it fast? And I can tell you, now speed is not the only thing that you want to look for in a Nitro RC car. I know that everyone loves speed. I love it myself. I personally like what they call bottom end speed. So you have two types of speed. You have bottom end speed and top end speed. Bottom end speed is essentially how quickly the car accelerates. Top end speed is how far it goes once you've hit full throttle and it's hit its terminal speed. So for me, the way I look at it, you can look at, there's other models out there like the Traxxas XO1 that goes 100 miles an hour. I have no interest in any sort of a car like that, simply because if you go out there, that thing hits 100 miles an hour, it's going to be out of range before I can really even blink an eye. So when you're racing or just bashing or doing anything with these buggies, the great thing is you get acceleration that goes around the area where you can actually see and enjoy what the buggy's doing and what it offers you. One of the reasons that we decided to pick the OFNA Hyper 7 was due to the availability of parts. So with this being a basher, there's no doubt that we're going to break some pieces on it, but we have a comfort level knowing that anything, and I do mean anything whatsoever, that goes wrong on this, we can fix. In fact, not just fixing it, but we can actually upgrade it to be faster, a little bit more agile. Anything we want to do with this, anything is possible, because it's very, very easy to find parts for this model. Now, let's go ahead and take a close-up look of the buggy itself. Now, one of the things that I read quite a bit about before deciding to purchase this was the steering servo. I read that the steering servo had quite a bit of problems, and everyone pretty much recommended that I replace them right out of the box. Well, of course, I'm not going to do that. I want to at least see how they behave, and so far they've been pretty good. I don't have the specs on them, so I don't know the torque, I don't know the speed of them, but thus far they have worked great for me. And we've taken, I think we've probably given this thing, how many tanks of gas would you say, Ange, that we've given it?
20.
probably 20 tanks of gas. And the only thing we've had to do is change the batteries. And what we found out is we learned a little lesson that we were steering left, and it was giving a little bit of throttle. We changed the batteries, it fixed itself, everything was perfect after that. So knock on wood, but the servos, the steering servos and the throttle servo have been perfect. So now breaking this in was actually fairly easy. The good part was the engine started like a champ. I think we started the engine, Andrew. It was very cold that day. What was the temperature?
35, 34.
35, 34 degrees that day. I did heat it up with a hairdryer. Just simply got a hairdryer, put it on the cooling head in the combustion chamber for about a minute. Took it outside. It started up probably on the third pull. We were very, very surprised at that. One thing that I would say as a downside was that the stock needle settings on the engine were actually very lean. So I had to end up richeting it, both the high speed and the low speed needle, quite a bit to get it right where it needed to be. So let's go ahead now and give it a start and see how she sounds. So I've got a glow plug starter here. I'm going to pop it in there. First, let's start this right here. Get here, and let's get an idea of how easily this thing starts. There you go, right there. And that is the OFNA Hyper 7. I hope you enjoyed this video from the Nitro RC Nerds. We'll see you later. Thanks.